Aloha. Welcome to Light Drama Action. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. And let's get to the content for today. Peace.
Before we begin, I want to offer a clear and firm warning. What you're about to hear contains graphic descriptions. This content is intended for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is strongly advised. And remember, all individuals mentioned in this video, including Mr. Combs, are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. If you're joining us for the first time, full summaries for days 1 through 24 are available on the video tab of this channel. Day 25 proceedings. On Tuesday, June 17th, the tone remained grave and intense. Combs sat at defense counsel's table, flanked by his lawyers, while prosecutors settled at the well with stacks of exhibits. Early in the morning, Judge Subramanian sternly reminded both sides not to let pretrial media leaks taint the process, echoing yesterday's admonitions about sealed material. Once court was in session, the first order was to recall Agent Penland to complete her testimony. Special Agent Penland, poised and earnest in her blue NYPD jacket, retook the stand to answer defense questions after Tuesday's marathon. Defense attorney Tenny Garagos immediately zeroed in on what wasn't in Penland's report. He read aloud several of Combs and Ventura's text exchanges that she had not presented. Garagos asked sharply why the agent had not included those texts. Penland bristled that she wasn't the case agent and was only asked to verify evidence the government provided. She had no motive to exclude exculpatory material. Jurors could hear her frustration. "I'm not here to add anything on top," she insisted. The exchange highlighted a key contradiction the defense emphasized. Many of Cassie's own messages suggested consent or even enthusiasm, while her in-court testimony portrayed coercion. For instance, Garagos pointed out Cassie had texted Combs that she was always ready to freak off and even joked about a big black dick, which clashed with her depiction of trauma. Prosecution redirects on Penland refocus on how Combs' associates scrambled after the 2016 Intercontinental beating. Through airline itineraries and phone logs, Penland explained prosecutors had reconstructed a terrifying timeline. On March 4, 2016, Cassie first texted Combs around 11:28 a.m. to ask about an escort. Within minutes, surveillance photos at 11:35 a.m. showed her stumbling out of the hotel with a swollen lip. Meanwhile, Combs was repeatedly on her line. 8 calls at 11:28 a.m. went straight to voicemail. When she finally called back twice, they each lasted about a minute. Soon after, at roughly midday, she sent him a string of text messages. In one, Cassie calmly described checking with security and assuring him no one had seen the fight. In another, she spelled out her injuries. "I have a black eye and a fat lip. You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done. Please stay far away from me," she wrote. The jury also heard that after that phone conversation, Combs lied about police involvement. He texted Cassie, "I'm about to be arrested," even though no officers were coming. A few days later, Cassie bluntly texted again, "I still have crazy bruising from Friday. I'm not a rag doll, I'm someone's child." This collage of logs, photos, and texts gave jurors a second-by-second chart of the Intercontinental attack's fallout, countering any notion it was consensual rough play. Meanwhile, a different drama was unfolding at the defense table. The next witness was to be Brendan Paul, a former assistant to Combs. Paul had already appeared briefly in late June 16th to invoke his Fifth Amendment right and not answer questions. By court's end on Tuesday, Judge Subramanian ordered him under immunity so that he must tell the truth when he testifies. Paul will return later to give his testimony once Penland steps off the stand, making him one of the last witnesses before prosecutors rest. He has been described in filings as a former Syracuse basketball player who Combs allegedly tasked with securing drugs for freak-offs. Evidence introduced during Penland's continued testimony on day 25, prosecutors introduced more forensic exhibits. Flight and hotel records lined up with chat logs to tell the tale of the freak-off empire. For instance, a Trump International Hotel docket for October 2012 was entered. Combs and Ventura ran up exactly $795.63 one night paying for wine, a movie, breakfast, and the escort's room service. The billing detail was accompanied by text messages. One entry shown to the jury was a text from Cassie to a male escort named Jules asking him to come to the room of Frank Black, Combs' secret code name. The line item receipts underscored what happened in those suites. Penland also confirmed American Express statements that Combs' companies picked up some huge tabs, multiple charges for the Beverly Hills and Hermitage hotels, and especially an entry from October 5, 2012 showing $46,786 for an intercontinental penthouse. The agent explained these were blowout cleans and damages after a freak-off session. Jurors could do the arithmetic. Combs' business funds were used to underwrite every detail of these encounters. There was the $4,000 per night suite charge, the escort fees, the lube and baby oil and candle wax supplies, all itemized on invoices. Penland testified that in one famous hotel night, a flight itinerary, an Amex record confirmed Combs paid for Cassie and an escort to fly coast to coast. Separate tickets on one card. Defense counsel did not contest that these bills were paid by Combs' accounts, but they argued they were simply part of his lavish lifestyle and consensual swingers scene, not evidence of abuse. Courtroom dynamics. Throughout the morning and afternoon, tension simmered between prosecutor Maureen Comey and the defense. Garagos kept up a barrage of objections, especially when Penland confirmed records unfavorable to Combs. When the agent testified that Combs' Amex had been charged $944,000 for travel and hotels, including a $46,786 penthouse bill, the defense cautioned the jury not to infer guilt from bookkeeping. The judge allowed the evidence but reminded everyone that arguing implications was for closing arguments. At one point, Comey gently asked Penland to explain key portions of the text message exhibits. One accused Combs of lying about arresting officers, another showed Cassie's final defiant text after the assault, and Penland did so dispassionately, reading Combs' own "I'm about to be arrested" line into the record. Every piece of mail-in message was weighed meticulously. Notably, some of the day's most graphic content was played in private. After lunch, the monitors in the public gallery were turned off and jurors donned headphones for a second sealed video presentation. These clips, again, freak-off sex tapes from 2012 and 2014 involving Combs, Cassie, and escorts, were shown only to the jurors, with the judge barring spectators and press from view. Court watchers outside could only hear the hushed creak of leather chairs as jurors watched. From behind the closed doors, one could imagine the scenes. Participants in various stages of undress, explicit acts performed for the camera. An attending reporter noted that even high-powered lawyers and Combs himself showed no visible reaction as the jury absorbed the images. Some spectators later observed that the panel appeared almost desensitized. One young juror reportedly pulled a hood up over his head at one point, and another lowered his gaze, but no outburst or visible shock broke the courtroom decorum. Victims' injuries and text evidence. Throughout Penland's testimony, the human cost loomed large. The team drove home Ventura's injuries and fear as starkly as the cold records. They introduced more photos from March 2016. An exhibit showed Cassie with tape on her swollen lips and bruised eye leaving the Intercontinental on March 4th, corroborating her own claim that she tried to escape with injury already on her face. Meanwhile, her text messages read like a victim impact statement. We have Cassie's words ringing out of the courthouse. After Combs' apology text, she replied, "I still have crazy bruising from Friday. I would be a dummy to subject myself to that happening again. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's child." These lines were read in evidence, painting a vivid picture of her pain and indignity. The defense stumbled over these reminders of violence. Combs shifted uncomfortably when the texts were read. At times, jurors were permitted to see limited evidence of injuries directly. A court exhibit was a police report photo of Cassie's bruised face, edited to conceal her identity, from the hotel fight. Agents described her black eye and lip, and a hospital note briefly outlined her injuries, swelling, bruises, from that night. The juxtaposition was painful. On one screen, Cassie is a well-known pop singer casually writing about sexy flashbacks. On another, she's a battered woman pleading to stay safe. Even if the defense decried this as prejudicial sympathy play, the prosecution made sure the jury could not ignore the victim perspective, contradictions, and crossfire. Defense counsel Garagos continued to press contradictions. He pointed out examples where Penland's transcripts omitted any reference to Cassie complaining about filming freak-offs, even though Cassie herself had texted her fear that there might be hidden videos. Garagos reminded Penland that Cassie asked Combs by text, "You didn't film anything on your phone, right?" in October 2013. The agent admitted that gap, but reiterated she would only verify documents given to her. The defense also highlighted the romantic entanglements. In a separate wave of cross-examination, Garagos asked Penland about an email from Combs to Cassie when footage of the 2016 assault went public. The email called Cassie "my other wife" and said he loved her and missed her, implying affection and consent. Penland deferred on interpreting, but the jury noted the fleeting glimpse of goodwill in a maze of abuse claims. In one of the liveliest spurts, Garagos read aloud transcripts of Combs' text to Cassie immediately after the beating. He emphasized that Combs repeatedly called and texted her for nearly an hour, suggesting her disappearance had left him panic-stricken. He even lied about police being on the way. Under that crossfire, Penland confirmed the records, but feigned impatience at a line of inquiry that investigators had not pursued. "Why didn't you get the rest of the conversation?" Garagos demanded. "That wasn't my job," Penland snapped back. Judge Subramanian intervened only to remind counsel to stick to relevant evidence, but the sparring underscored the day's theme. Defense pushing every opportunity to plant doubt in Penland's accounting, and prosecution doggedly sticking to the timeline and documentary proof. Jury's reaction. Throughout the day, reporters and onlookers noted the jury's subdued demeanor. Even as Penland narrated passage after passage of explicit text, they scribbled notes with little expression. Only when the sealed freak-off videos played did slight reactions flicker. One juror apparently winced when an especially graphic moment occurred, captured by an Essence reporter as one juror cringing while another covered his face with his hand, but they quickly regained composure. As one legal observer commented, the panel looked almost desensitized to the lurid clips. This stoicism was a double-edged sword. It showed deliberation, but it also frustrated prosecutors who had anticipated a more visceral impact. Public and legal response. By evening, news of the trial's latest turn was circulating widely. On social media and some news commentaries, the freak-off footage became a topic of debate. Some legal analysts remarked that the case was shaping up as a contest between documentary evidence versus consent. The government had assembled what one called an intricate travel and communications web of Combs' conduct, but defense insisted all of it was legal and consensual. Public reaction was split. Victims' advocates praised the FBI's thoroughness in treating the sexual assault claims as serious crimes, while critics pointed to the sensationalism of the sexual evidence as potentially prejudicial. One media reviewer dryly noted jurors were almost yawningly impassive to what others dubbed the porn videos, suggesting juries sometimes tune out shock value. For now, both sides emerged claiming small victories. Prosecutors could point to jurors finally seeing what Cassie lived through, and defense lawyers rejoiced that their client never showed overt emotion, maintaining innocence even under such dragness of proof.